The disciples gathered under the Bodhi tree, voices rising in disagreement over their interpretations of truth. Buddha observed in silence, then spoke. When many speak, who truly listens? The disciples exchanged glances. Some lowered their heads, others shifted uncomfortably. Ananda stepped forward. Master, we seek to understand, but words pull us apart. Buddha picked up a clay bowl and held it up. If a bowl is full, can it hold more? Number. Master, Ananda replied. Buddha poured water into the bowl until it overflowed. When the mind is full, can it receive wisdom? The disciples understood his meaning. They had been speaking to assert themselves, not to absorb truth. Buddha continued, true listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. It is surrendering the self to understand another. A young disciple hesitated, then asked, how do we silence our thoughts? Master? Buddha smiled. Do not fight them. A river does not struggle against its banks, it simply flows. The disciples sat in quiet contemplation, sensing the weight of his words. Then, Buddha spoke again. In the space between words, truth is heard. Silence stretched among them, deep and unbroken. An elder disciple whispered, I see now, Master. In our eagerness to be right, we have lost sight of listening. Buddha nodded. To listen is to empty oneself. To empty oneself is to make room for wisdom. The wind stirred the leaves overhead, carrying the scent of damp earth. Buddha reached for a fallen leaf and held it out. What do you see? The disciples examined the leaf. Uncertain. One answered, a leaf, carried by the wind. Another said, a fragment of what was once part of something greater. Buddha nodded. Truth is like this. It does not belong to one voice, but moves freely, touching all who are open. They let his words sink in, feeling the weight of their previous debates dissolve. Buddha spoke again. When one clings to their belief as absolute, they become deaf to all else. A disciple who had been quiet finally spoke. Master, how do we learn to listen? Buddha smiled. By listening without judgment. By hearing without preparing a response. By being present, not proving oneself. The disciples sat motionless, absorbing his lesson in the silence between words. Night deepened and the stars blinked into existence above. Buddha's voice was soft but clear. Words hold meaning, but silence carries understanding. The disciples nodded, eyes reflecting the starlit sky. That night, they listened, not just to words, but to breath, to pauses, to unspoken truths. And in that silence, wisdom finally took root. Another day, under the morning light, the disciples gathered near the Buddha, waiting for his wisdom. A merchant arrived, his face tense with anger. Master, I have been deceived. I demand justice. Buddha observed him calmly. What is justice that you seek? The merchant clenched his fists. Repayment for what was taken. Buddha picked up a lotus from the pond. This flower does not seek revenge against the mud. It simply blooms. The merchant frowned. But must I not defend myself? Buddha nodded. Defense is wisdom, but retaliation is blindness. Ananda stepped forward. Master, how can one negotiate without force? Buddha placed the lotus back in the water. True negotiation is the art of understanding, not the battle of wills. The disciples sat in silence, absorbing his words. The merchant sighed, but if I do not fight, I will be taken advantage of. Buddha smiled. A river does not need to fight the rocks. It carves a path through patience and persistence. The wind stirred the leaves as Buddha continued. Strength is not in words of anger, but in the depth of understanding. A disciple who had remained silent spoke. Master, how does one negotiate wisely? Buddha lifted his gaze. By speaking with clarity, by listening with depth, by seeking resolution, not victory. The merchant's shoulders relaxed. Then how do I confront my rival? Buddha replied, do not confront. Approach. Do not demand. Seek. The merchant nodded, his anger softening. Buddha gestured to the disciples. When you argue, do you seek truth or triumph? They hesitated, then replied, often, triumph. Buddha sighed. To negotiate is to meet, not to battle. The merchant sat down. I will meet my rival with clarity. Buddha picked up a pebble and threw it into the pond. One action ripples far beyond its origin. The disciples watched the water shift and settle. Buddha spoke once more. Let your words create harmony, not disturbance. That evening, the merchant left with a lighter heart, and the disciples understood negotiation was not war, but wisdom in action. Another day, under the evening sky, the disciples sat near Buddha, their minds heavy with doubts about their teachings. A traveler approached. Master, long ago, I heard your words but did not understand them. Now, they return to me. Buddha nodded. Wisdom does not vanish, it waits for the right moment to bloom. The disciples listened, their uncertainty reflected in their eyes. One spoke hesitantly. Master, we spread teachings, but many do not listen. How do we know our words hold meaning? Buddha picked up a seed and held it between his fingers. Does the seed know when it will grow? The disciple shook his head. No, Master. Buddha placed the seed into the earth. Yet in time, it will bloom when the conditions are right. The wind carried the scent of distant blossoms through the trees. Buddha continued. Wisdom, once spoken, does not fade. It lingers, waiting for understanding to take root. Another disciple sighed. But how do we have patience when we cannot see the outcome? Buddha smiled. A river does not need to see the ocean to know it flows towards it. The disciples pondered his words in silence. A young disciple asked, Master, what if our words are forgotten? Buddha shook his head gently. Truth is never forgotten. It remains, even when unspoken. The traveler looked at Buddha. Then why did your teachings return to me only now? Buddha placed a hand upon the ground. Because now, your heart is open to receive them. The disciples understood. Buddha spoke once more. Do not seek immediate change. Trust that wisdom will awaken when the time is right. That evening, the disciples no longer worried whether their words were heard. They knew wisdom would echo beyond time and silence. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.